Tourists and locals alike falling victim to unlicensed cabs and ride shares.
How big of a problem do you think unlicensed taxis are right now here in Nashville?
Fox 17 News presses city leaders about what they're doing to put the brakes on this problem.
Something could go very, very wrong down there if there's no one to provide any oversight.
And just the tip of the iceberg, why tents lining up sidewalks downtown only tell a sliver of the story about the homeless problem. And a woman's murder renewing calls for change to protect domestic violence victims, why advocates say the system is failing. Fox 17 News at 9 starts now.
Middle Tennessee's only primetime news. This is Fox 17 News at 9, your Code Red station.
How big of a problem do you think unlicensed taxis are right now here in Nashville?
I think it's a significant problem.
Continuing coverage as Metro regulators go on the record after our reporting reveals unlicensed cab and rideshare drivers creating horror stories downtown for locals and tourists alike. Fox 17 News' Caitlin Miller now live in Midtown after speaking with the head of Metro's Transportation Licensing Commission as well as a licensed cab driver.
Yes, Scott, well, the TLC told me today that they have enforcement officers downtown every day checking to make sure that all taxi drivers are following the law. But a legitimate taxi driver that we spoke with today says that the city still needs to do more.
All right, here you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We went for a ride with a licensed taxi driver.
We are going, for example, to Broadway. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Raid Al-Tabasi works for Yellow Cab. He told us how to tell a legit taxi from an imposter. First, make sure the name of the company is on the vehicle along with a taxi number. And watch for this.
I have to have my meter start before I start running.
Al-Tabasi says unlicensed are hurting their reputation and bad for business.
They overcharging people and nobody ask them why, nobody stop them, and nobody say anything to them.
After weeks of calls, TLC Director Richard Rooker spoke with me about this growing problem.
We've been hearing the horror stories from tourists, even legitimate taxi drivers. What's the TLC doing to address this safety concern?
Well, we are aware of the safety concern, and we have enforcement officers that are constantly on Broadway, monitoring all the downtown core.
But the cab companies we've talked with say it's not enough. I asked Rooker if there are any challenges they're facing with citing drivers.
The issues that we have and the problem that we have is when we pull up and these ride shares or fake cabs, however you want to express it, are there, we pull behind them to cite them for a parking ticket, they pull off. And our department doesn't have the ability to pull them over.
Rooker says his people can only write citations. He says an undercover operation would require action by Metro Police. The TLC says that a lot of these problems occur late at night and on weekends. Now, Rooker speculates a lot of these legitimate taxi drivers return back downtown after work hours, working illegally. But again, none of these drivers have been caught yet. Reporting live from Midtown, I'm Caitlin Miller, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Stop and pay attention. Take domestic violence seriously.
In Operation Crime and Justice, victims, advocates, and domestic violence survivors tell us Nashville's criminal justice system failed Lauren Johansson. Police say she was killed by an ex-boyfriend, Bryson Rivers, after he bonded out of the Metro jail. Fox 17 News' Karen Aguilar has their reaction to the human error and other factors that led to this young woman's murder.
Scott, a clerk's error allowed Rivers to leave the state without tracing his ankle monitor and go to Mississippi where that murder was committed. But victim advocates say the bigger issue is a Metro judge reducing his bond.
I've been in this field my entire career, and I don't think I've ever seen a murder as brutal as that one.
Diane Lance, who helps domestic violence victims, is horrified by Lauren Johansson's murder. Police say she was killed by her abusive ex-boyfriend, Bryson Rivers, in Gulfport, Mississippi. This after he was released from jail here in Nashville and was charged with beating her bloody in December in a jealous rage for talking to another man. Johansson even stopped by the Jean Crow Advocacy Center where Lance works, needing help.
That commissioner recognized that this offender was at high risk of killing her. That was excellent. The prosecutors knew he was at high risk of killing her. Our office knew he was at high risk of killing her.
Lance says all the warning signs were there. She says stranglers kill, and that's what happened to Johansson. And there's Rivers' criminal history. Despite that, his $251,000 bond was reduced by Judge Cheryl Blackburn.
I feel that it is unacceptable for a bond to be lowered on a dangerous offender without looking at that offender's risk to the victim through the danger assessment by our office or the lethality assessment by patrol.
It's a story we've seen before. Case in point, domestic violence victim Michaela Carter. Her abuser was let back out on the streets to reoffend. Land says, although there were mishaps in Rivers' release, judges have a duty to protect victims.
The criminal justice system failed Lauren, in my opinion, and failed her family, in my opinion, and it's just tragic.
Lance tells me that judges need to look into a suspect's criminal history, especially if the victim is at high risk, so that they can avoid mistakes like we've seen in the past that end up in a tragedy. If you are a domestic violence victim and you need help, you can head to our website at fox17.com. Reporting live in Nashville, Karen Aguilar, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Continuing with Operation Crime and Justice, another step forward in the murder case of 17-year-old Trinity Bostic. She's from Macon County. Her body was found off New Shackle Island Road in Hendersonville last Wednesday. 5 days after that, this Monday, police arrested a 17-year-old they say knew Bostic. That teen now being held without bond in Sumner County. He'll be back in court August the 8th for a hearing to determine whether he will be tried as an adult. Detectives used phone records and license plate readers to place the suspect in the area where Bostic's body was found. Now, we have more information on the Bostic case at our website, fox17.com. Just search Trinity Bostic. New tonight, new video from the night Missouri College student Riley Strain disappeared downtown. It shows that he and 4 friends at 4 different bars down in the district. Fox 17 News' Kelly Avellino now with the very latest on what became a national story that prompted change in Music City.
This surveillance video from Luke Bryan's bar shows Riley Strain getting escorted down the stairs after staffers say he had too much to drink. A private investigator hired by Strain's family says one of Strain's friends did try to smooth things over, but wasn't successful. Riley took off from outside the bar, his friends calling him as he stumbled in the wrong direction of their hotel. According to police documents exclusively obtained by Fox 17 News, just before 10 p.m., Metro Police dash cam video captured, quote, a person that appears to be Strain standing at the wooden rail under the James Robertson Parkway Bridge. Detectives write they believe Strain crossed over that wooden guardrail and lost his balance, falling off of a ledge. Detectives also believe the river was high enough that Strain fell directly into the water, then drowning. The autopsy also saying that alcohol poisoning was a cause of death. After interviewing 6 of Strain's friends, the private investigator confirmed that they did look for him by the waterfront after returning to the hotel, discovering he wasn't there.
Now, Riley Strain's death, because of that, city leaders drafted a riverfront safety plan that includes some better barriers and improved lighting. A nonprofit called the Red Frogs, which helps to make sure that impaired people get home safely after a night downtown, are also working to become a permanent fixture in downtown. Politics now. President Biden facing reporters at a NATO news conference a few hours ago amid calls for him to suspend his re-election bid.
I'm just going to keep moving, and because, look, I got more work to do. We got more work to finish. There's so much, we made so much progress.
President emphasizing at that news conference the need for a strong NATO alliance, but he also gave critics more ammo when he referred to Vice President Kamala Harris as Vice President Trump tonight while talking with reporters. Looking ahead, former President Donald Trump will be here in Nashville later this month. He is one of the headliners that will be speaking at a Bitcoin conference. That 3-day event will kick off July 25th downtown at the Music City Center.
You know, something could go very, very wrong down there if there's no one to provide any oversight.
And the high cost of homelessness tonight, people living on sidewalks downtown. Advocates say it's a prime example of the lack of any real progress with the homeless camps along the Cumberland River. Fox 17 News' Kylie Walker tonight with more on this ever-growing Music City problem.
While it may look clean in this moment, I have seen in recent weeks the people living in this homeless encampment to the side of me kind of scatter out and get onto this sidewalk. Now, Councilmember Jacob Coupin says that sidewalk blocking really comes and goes periodically, but he is working to address it.
Just a couple streets away from Broadway, grocery carts, bags, and household items laid out on Gay Street earlier this month. And while the sidewalks are now clear, camps remain hidden just behind this tree line.
Just the amount of stuff that builds up on the sidewalks and in the streets, it's a health hazard.
Barry Dupnick, who spends his free time cleaning up and down these embankments, says he'd like to see more oversight along this stretch.
Normally when we see them get on the sidewalks, and they start to grow into getting into the roads as well.
This is a problem spot Fox 17 News has reported on in the past, with this area put under a scope the last few months. It's where investigators search night and day for Riley Strain. And along this embankment, it's also the site of several encampments, where crews even rescued a homeless person who fell into the water.
Something could go very, very wrong down there if there's no one to provide any oversight.
And Councilman Jacob Coupin says this is something he's aware of.
Housing is a human right? People have a right to get shelter. And at the same time, though, this particular area is on my radar because we are seeing people start to block access and block right-of-ways.
Coupin says he's been in conversations with various agencies, even walking this area in the last couple of weeks with the Office of Homeless Services, Metro Police Quality of Life Team, and Parks.
I don't like to move people from just one place to another. It's not good for those individuals, not good for the neighborhoods. But this area in particular has been a little bit challenging. And it's also what was addressed by my resolution, asking for homeless services to start to work on this area.
We asked the Office of Homeless Services when that will be. They say they're out to this area on a weekly basis to connect people to resources and services.
Coupin says he has spoken to individuals who have said they would accept housing. The problem is, though, we don't have enough housing. He does say that things could drastically change in the near future. That's all due to the Strubble Permanent Supportive House that will be opening with 90 beds as well as facilities and support services. For now, reporting in downtown Nashville, Kylie Walker, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
All right, let's talk about the heat. Kylie had her hair up today, and it was one of those days where it was just humid and really hot.
Getting worse as we head towards the weekend, I'm afraid.
The bear of bad news.
I know.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Today was actually the coolest day we'll see for maybe 7 days.
Bite your tongue.
I know. It's going to be pretty toasty as we head towards the weekend, probably looking at our hottest streak of the year so far. We check out our forecast as we head towards Saturday, Sunday through Monday, 100 possible. And I put the records here just for perspective beside it. Saturdays should be fine, as well as tomorrow's. By the way, we'll be around 96 for tomorrow. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, records will be at least fair game at that point. But I'm really hoping that they stay right where they're at here. We don't need to see 104 next week at all. But unfortunately, it is going to be quite warm as we head through the next several days. Temperatures for tomorrow should be in the upper 80s by 10 o'clock, around 95 as we head into the early part of the afternoon, and we'll hang out in those mid 90s for the day with mainly sunny skies. So really not going to find much in the way of rain anytime soon. Heat index by 9 a.m. feeling like 90 here in Nashville, upper 80s, Cookeville, Crossville around 85. This is 10 a.m. Clarksville feels like 91, and then we climb from there. It'll feel like 97 to 98 throughout the afternoon on Friday, with mainly sunny to partly cloudy skies, and will continue to feel quite warm as we head into Friday evening, and then eventually dropping back into those 70s for the overnight into early Saturday morning. Now, I mentioned that our rain chances are going to be few and far between. I even mentioned this afternoon that consider yourself lucky if you have any rain, because we really do need it. That we're not looking at great chances, maybe a 5% chance at best. And lo and behold, right after the 5:30 newscast, we had a heavy downpour right at the station and nowhere else in Middle Tennessee. So it has really been one of those days where that stray shower chance is true. Maybe a 5% chance at best, but again, I would not count on any rain until maybe the middle of next week. So we walk you through the next couple of days here. This will go through Saturday. You can see high pressure in control. Again, it keeps a lot of the rain away. There are no organized systems, even in the way of just rain showers moving in any time. This is Sunday 10 o'clock and then staying dry as we head through early Monday morning as well. Overnight tonight, we should drop down to about 70 degrees. So that's pretty good as far as overnight lows are concerned compared to what we'll end up with by the beginning of next week. The mid to upper 70s. Mainly clear skies for tonight, maybe a spot of fog in low-lying areas. We're up to about 96 for the high tomorrow with heat index values upper 90s and plenty of sunshine as we go throughout the day. We'll talk more about the impacts that little rain has had on us. The latest drought conditions came out today, and we'll discuss it in your Fox 17 Code Red forecast.
Katie, thank you. You mentioned how hot it's going to be. Well, we want to know what folks think. What do they consider too hot? Nearly 300 people weighing in. The vast majority say, for me, 95 to 100 is too hot. 90 to 95 is too hot for 37% of the people. But get this, a little over 11% of the people say it can't get too hot for them. There's always a few in the crowd, right? Polls live right now. To cast your vote, you can scan the QR code there on the right-hand side of your screen. It will take you to our X page. Our handle is @FoxNashville. And we will update these results for you coming up tonight on Fox 17 News at 10.
The president is struggling to stop defections in his own party, and now Republicans plan on turning up the heat. I'm Matt Gelka in Washington, and I'll have the story coming up.
Hey there, I'm Fox 17 News This Morning anchor Erica Glover. As natural disasters become more and more frequent.
In politics tonight, President Biden cannot quiet the doubters following his poor debate performance 2 weeks ago. Fox 17 News' Matt Galko with what's next for the president's campaign. And you can vote on this issue by scanning the QR code that will appear on your screen.
The president hasn't been able to shake the calls to reconsider his campaign in the 2 weeks since his debate performance opened up his own political Pandora's box.
As painful as this is, as much as I respect Joe Biden, as much as I love the work that he's done as a president and as a senator for decades, we need a change. We need a change so that we can win.
Vermont Senator Peter Welch became the first Democratic senator to call on Biden to end his bid for a second term. Representatives Brad Schneider and Hillary Skolten formally added their names to the step aside list, with Skolten posting on social media, "For the sake of our democracy, he must pass the torch." New polling numbers out Thursday show most Democratic voters want the president to call it quits. The ABC News Washington Post poll showed a deadlocked race, with Biden tied with Donald Trump among registered voters. But the same poll had 67% of people saying Biden should step aside, including 56% of Democrats.
Throughout this week, as House Democrats, we have engaged in a process of talking to each other. Those conversations have been candid, comprehensive, and clear-eyed, and they continue.
Meanwhile, Republicans want to turn up the heat on the president if he stays in the race. House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer subpoenaed 3 Biden aides to testify on the president's mental ability.
These are the 3 people that have been trying to cover up the fact that Joe Biden hasn't been mentally or physically able to perform the job of president, much less to run for an additional 4-year term.
Biden plans to hit Michigan on Friday, a state he won 4 years ago, but now polling shows could be a toss-up as he enters a critical stretch of trying to save his campaign. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
Well, now during that story, we have a QR code up linking you to our poll asking if you think President Biden should end his re-election bid. 380 people have weighed in. A little over 60% say yes, he should end his re-election bid, but nearly 40% say no, he should stay the course. Our thanks tonight for all who took time to cast a vote. Just ahead on Fox 17 News at 9, a little bit late this evening because of the news conference, a game changer, how Nashville seniors can freeze their property taxes.
They have access.
Looking ahead to Friday, an early registration for a program that will allow some Nashville seniors to freeze their property taxes. It's a program that protects seniors on a fixed income from big increases that would wreck their budgets. Joining us now with more on this program and some important changes this year is Davidson County trustee Erica Gilmore. Erica, great to see you. Let's start with who's eligible for this.
Thank you. It's so great to see you as well. So you have to be 65 years or older. That's the first step. And you need to be a Davidson County resident. So you have to live in Davidson County. You need to be 65 years or older. And the income, which is what I'm really excited about, and I think that's why you're covering us, and we so appreciate it, has been lifted to $60,000. It used to be $47,750. And now it is an amazing $60,000. So those are the big markers there. So being 65 years or older, having an income of $60,000 or less, and being a Davidson County resident.
Now, I was eager to have you on when your office let me know about the income ceiling and it was going to be raised. Is there a limit for how many people can take advantage of this?
There is not a limit. That's what I'm so excited about. So if anyone fits that criteria, they can participate. There's no limit. It does not run out.
That's good. Now, how long does the freeze last? I mean, is this a one-year thing, or once I register, it's frozen until further notice? How does it work?
No, that is a wonderful question. So the first time a person applies for freeze, and then after that, each year, they renew it. We call it renewing, or it could be reapplying, but it's not submitting all the information like you would when you first apply.
Sure.
So that's how that piece works, because you have to bring a couple pieces of documentation, but it's really important that you bring that. And I think once a person qualifies for it, they see it to be very beneficial, especially as we go into a year where we're going to have reappraisals, which will happen in our 2025 year. And if they get that amount locked in, it will not increase. And that's what's so wonderful about this program.
It is important. Now, the older I get, the more excited I get about things like this. And I know you're trying to get local seniors to register early so that when the door is open, essentially, for the program, people are in line. What are you doing to get people pre-registered?
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that question. We're taking it out into the city. So we are having a series of tax relief signups. So our first one is going to be at Elizabeth Park, and it's going to be this Friday from 9 a.m. to 11, and that's at 1701 Arthur Avenue. And then we have another one at 50 Forward, and it's going to be at the Donaldson Station. And then we have one at Bordeaux, which is going to be 54. We have East Park, and then we'll have one at the 50 Forward Turner Center. So as you can see, we're having them all over the city for the month of July and August, and we'll continue to have them spread out through all over the city. So right now we have about 5 events that are going to occur within this next month.
I love it. Now, you mentioned a couple of things that you want people to bring with them to show that they qualify. What do they need to bring?
Okay, yes, they got to have a driver's license, or they can have their voter's registration card. They need a Medicare card. If their spouse has passed away, we do need a death certificate for that, showing that. And in addition to that, we need their 2023 income. Will be their 2023 income, as well as 1 month's bank statement. And that's kind of just like the high level things. And then of course, depending on some resident situation, it may be a little bit more specific. So there may be a little bit different information, but that is the base kind of line information that everyone would need to provide as it relates to documentation.
This will get people going, and I should mention we will put a link to your website in this particular program at our website, fox17.com. Metro trustee Erica Gilmore, thanks so much for being with us.
No, thank you for having us. We appreciate it so much. Have a great day.
Covering the Capitol, stock trading by members of Congress is back in the spotlight. As Fox 17 News' Atra Al-Nashar shows us, a U.S. Senate committee is now working on a bill that would keep lawmakers from trading on Wall Street.
So far, 2024 has been a great year for Wall Street. The S&P 500 breaking more than 36 records. But if you're a member of Congress who trades stocks, odds are you're used to this kind of success.
Time after time, the portfolios of members of Congress
do better than the S&P 500. People are aware that senators and House members are benefiting from privileged information they may get a little earlier than the rest of the world.
Now, a bipartisan group of senators have agreed on a framework to ban members of Congress from trading stocks and financial assets like securities, commodities, futures, and options.
We're going to be taking what I believe is a historic step forward.
Later this month, the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs will mark up trading ban legislation that would also apply to the president and vice president. In addition to banning trades, the officials and their spouses and dependent children would have to divest of holdings by spring of 2027.
This is long overdue. This is necessary.
Previous efforts to ban trading in Congress have failed. It's not hard to see why. Just last year, lawmakers made more than 11,000 trades with $1 billion in stock.
We are a free market economy. They should be able to participate in that.
Then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, whose husband works in finance, later dropped her opposition. The strongest support comes from the public. A University of Maryland poll found 86% of voters support banning members of Congress from trading stocks.
And you don't have to explain it to anybody in America. The only people you have to explain it to are here in this building.
Penalties for breaking the law may not be enough to deter high-value trades. These senators want to see fines equal either 1 month of the official's salary or 10% of an asset's value. And for violations of reporting requirements, they want to see those fines go from the current $200
Tennessee Titans not done adding to their roster just yet, and today signed three-time Pro Bowl safety Jamal Adams to a one-year deal. Adams spent the last 4 seasons with the Seattle Seahawks, where in 2020 he set the single-season record for most sacks by defensive back with 9.5. However, since then he's been riddled with injuries in recent years and only played 9 games last season. Former Titans wide receiver Chris Sanders joining us now on the show to help us break down the latest Titans signing. And Chris, Jamal Adams, a big name for the Titans. He also addresses an area of need for the two-tone blue. How concerned are you that his most productive years were maybe 3 or 4 years ago?
I mean, I'm not really concerned. I mean, this guy's a veteran. He's been around. He played with the Seahawks and he played with the Jets. But here's the thing that I love. Everybody knows about Denard Wilson, you know, the defensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. He wants to be aggressive and he wants to get after the quarterback. So what do? You go out and get 2 corners. You got Snead, you got Awuzie. But now you bring Jamal Adams in there, who's a guy that's going to blitz the quarterback. If you look at his overall career, he has 21 sacks and he has 494 tackles. So when you have a guy like that, that's a veteran guy that can make tackles, get after the quarterback, I think this is a great signing for the Tennessee Titans.
Titans added much needed safety. They also added veteran, like you said, and just a little less than 2 weeks away from training camp. So it's all coming together for the two-tone blue first year of Brian Callahan. He's former Titans wide receiver Chris Sanders, and he's going to join us Sports Overtime Sunday at 10. We'll break down all the position battles going on in training camp in just 2 weeks, so be sure to join us then. Coming up, more on our drought that is emerging here in Middle.
Tonight in Spotlight on America, we continue our investigation into toxic lead lurking in baby and toddler food. As Fox 17 News' Lisa Fletcher reports, now there are concerns, new concerns, involving some children's snack foods.
It's the go-to snack that kids love, and with labels like organic, rice-free, and no added sugar, one that parents trust. But some of these puffs, featuring one of the latest trend ingredients, cassava root, were found to contain alarming amounts of lead.
FDA needs and must do more.
Tom Neltner is the National Director of Unleaded Kids, a group that focuses on reducing lead exposure from all sources. The Consumer Reports test results on puffs came as a surprise to many. What does that tell you?
That tells me we need to pay attention to all these other types of root crops that we didn't pay attention to.
Root crops like potatoes, carrots, and cassava require rigorous testing to make sure they're not absorbing heavy metals from the soil. Consumer Reports tested 2 brands of cassava root puffs, Lesser Evil and Serenity Kids. Both were found to contain lead. The highest levels were found in these Lesser Evil Lil Puffs Intergalactic Voyager Veggie Blend. that contained more lead than any of the 80 baby foods Consumer Reports had tested since 2017.
What was interesting is that some of the cassava products didn't have it high levels and others did, which suggests there's opportunities to lower the level, and you really need to do quality control.
But if companies are missing the mark, the FDA is charged with ensuring a safe food supply. The agency was supposed to set limits on heavy metals in baby food years ago, but still hasn't done it, forcing parents to blindly trust what's in products they buy for their kids. Even if the FDA finally sets standards for contaminants in baby food, those closest to the issue tell us they're not expected to be rigorous and won't even include snacks that we now know can be among the most contaminated products.
For reasons I don't understand and they didn't explain, they eliminated all the snacks. Snacks like teething biscuits or these puffs. So those are among the highest levels of lead and often arsenic in them. So it was disturbing to us that they exempted those from the scope of their action levels.
It kind of leads one to believe that they're more interested in what's happening with industry than with the public health side.
So that's the way the agency has been operated since 1980. It's not new. We know the damage it causes to kids' brains. We know the lost lifetime earnings that the kids will have. So they don't do that analysis. Instead, they just look at the market and say, what can we do that won't disrupt the market? That's not what common sense requires.
Lesser Evil released a statement saying it was dismayed by the news, but claims it tests its products and has confirmed they meet safety standards. Still, the company says it will phase out cassava flour. On its website, Serenity Kids wrote it vets suppliers to use the cleanest possible ingredients, and its puffs exceed all applicable health and safety standards. For Spotlight on America, I'm Lisa Fletcher.
Tonight in Crisis in the Classroom, an Antioch woman turns to Fox 17 News because she says her sister was assaulted at school. The family went to the school district first, but turned to us after being disappointed with the response on that end. The 13-year-old girl, they say, moved here from Venezuela, along with her family searching for a better life. But the sister says since she arrived, the sister has had 4 separate incidents at school. One of them sent her to the hospital. Relatives don't feel that Metro school leaders are taking their concerns seriously.
My mom called me screaming. She told me that Alanis couldn't even move any part of her body. She felt her little girl was dying.
We will have more details about these 4 separate incidents and the Metro School District's response. That's tomorrow on Fox 17 News at 9. Right now, as Lucy would say, or actually Ricky would say to Lucy, you got some splaining to do.
Yeah, I know. This weekend it's going to be quite hot out there. I mean, I could just reply in Lucy voice and go, ah.
I know. You can't talk your way out of this one.
No, I can't. We are looking at upper 90s, close to 100 here as we head towards the weekend. Tomorrow will be around 96, and that'll be one of the coolest days that we have for a while. Right around 70 at 6 a.m. If you want to get up and do some exercise, you want to get up early to do so, with temperatures right around 76 at 8, up to about 80 as we head towards 9 a.m. with mainly sunny skies around. Went back and checked. We've had 2 days at 99 degrees. That's our hottest day so far for 2024. It's definitely possible that we could best that as we head toward the weekend again with 100 possible. Heat index then is a whole nother category where we're going to be looking at 105 to 110 as how it feels, especially by Sunday, Monday and Tuesday of next week. Something else to keep in mind is the walks that you take with your dog, your best friend. Something again that you want to remember is the fact that if it's too hot for you to be walking on it with your bare feet, it's too hot for them. When the surface temperature is around 95 degrees, concrete can be as hot as 125 degrees and blacktop can be as hot as 140 degrees. And at 140 degrees, it only takes a minute where those little paws are starting to burn. So again, just a good rule of thumb, if it's too hot for you to be walking around with bare feet in these hot conditions, and it's too hot for them as well. So those morning walks, early morning walks are going to be best, or late evening, right around sunset, probably better as far as the heat is concerned. Now on top of that, we don't have a lot of rain chances on the way, and the new drought monitor came out today. The conditions have worsened, which we expected because we've had so little rain. We're now looking at here a level 1 drought for a lot of Middle Tennessee, but it worsens as we head south of 40, especially toward the Alabama border. Now looking at a level 3 drought for folks in Lawrenceburg, Lewisburg, down close to Winchester in that level 2 drought area. So again, this is definitely something that we're going to keep our eye on, and we'll likely see it worsen more. It comes out once a week every Thursday. We'll probably see it worsen even more so as we head into next week, given the fact that we're not looking at really good rain chances until we get toward Wednesday of next week here. So we take a look at your forecast. Highs expected to be right around 100s for Sunday and Monday. I've gone ahead with code red days for the heat for those days there, especially with the heat index values climbing into the 105 to 110 range as we head towards Monday and Tuesday.
Searching for answers, how a local restaurant.
Nearly 22 million children living in America rely on schools for their meals. Fox 17 News and our parent company, Sinclair Broadcasting, are partnering with Feed America for the Sinclair Cares Summer Hunger Relief Program. You can donate by scanning the QR code on your screen or go to sinclaircares.com.
In Operation Crime and Justice, friends and relatives tonight remembering a South Nashville restaurant owner killed last month in a hit and run. Metro Police say Smokin' Thighs owner Matthew Carney was hit by a pickup truck outside his restaurant on Wedgwood Avenue near the fairgrounds. That business was closed today for the vigil, but Carney's employees are keeping that operation going. Meanwhile, Metro Police are looking for 24-year-old Ulysses Martinez as a possible suspect in Carney's death. He's wanted right now just for the theft of a pickup truck taken the day that Carney was hit. This week on Full Measure, our Cheryl Atkinson sits down with two cutting-edge doctors who are treating thousands of people who are suffering from long-haul COVID.
So in many ways, I mean, it is very young people that were otherwise athletic and living their life in basically every way you would think a fit, 20 to 40-year-old would do. And then they go from that to being debilitated.
Full Measure taking a closer look at long COVID Sunday morning at 7:30 and Sunday night at 11 right here on Fox 17. Now also on Sunday, be sure to check out the 30-minute Full Measure special, Full Measure Fearless Investigations. That's Sunday afternoon at 5. Still ahead tonight on Fox 17 News at 9, a late edition, signs of satisfaction, why fewer American workers say they're looking for greener pastures. In business news tonight, it looks like the pandemic trend of changing jobs may be coming to an end. A new survey found that only 35% of Americans, let me write that one down so it can sink in for you, 35% of Americans are planning to look for another job in the next 6 months. Now, that may not seem like much, but that's down from almost 50% at this same time last year. The poll also found 77% of American workers are happy with the jobs they have right now. Some of the reasons people say they're staying put: a tighter labor market, less incentive to switch, and satisfaction with the compensation, what they're making in terms of pay and benefits, and the work-life balance.
I'm Kayla Gaskins in Washington. The NATO summit coming to a close. Straight ahead, what progress was made this week sending additional aid to Ukraine?
It is a new device combined with a new drug that could make a big difference for those living with one neurological problem. I'm Liz Bonus. How it's injecting hope just ahead.
This is Fox 17 News at 10, your Code Red station.
The criminal justice system failed Lauren, in my opinion, and failed her family.
We begin with Operation Crime and Justice as domestic violence victims lay blame in the murder of Lauren Johansson. Police say her ex-boyfriend, Bryson Rivers, killed her. He's charged with that. This after bonding out of the Metro jail here in Nashville on domestic violence charges involving her and then chasing her down in Mississippi. Fox 17 News' Karen Aguilar live at the Metro Courthouse now with a reaction to admitted mistakes that contributed to Johansson's murder.
Scott, they say there are two big issues here. First, not enforcing the bond conditions. And secondly, they say in no way should the bond have ever been reduced. Diane Lance, the director of Metro Office of Family and Safety, tells me all the warning signs were already there. She tells me stranglers kill, and that's what happened to Johansson. And there's also Rivers' criminal history. Despite that, his bond was still reduced inside of Judge Cheryl Blackburn's courtroom. Karen Johnson, who faced similar abuse as Lauren, says enough is enough.
Stop and pay attention. Take domestic violence seriously and know that stranglers are killers. They will kill. I was just fortunate, but like I said, it could happen to any one of us at any time.
Johansson's dad, Robert Lance Johansson, according to court documents, also warned the DA, the judge, and others that Rivers would kill Lauren. After repeated pleas, Rivers not only got a reduced bond, a clerk's mistake allowed him to cross county lines to Mississippi. Lance says that judges need to care enough to research a suspect's criminal history, especially if that victim is at high risk, to prevent any mistakes from happening again in the future, like the mistakes we've already seen here that have taken place in the Nashville criminal justice system. If you are a domestic violence victim, you can head to our website at fox17.com for help. Reporting live in front of the Metro Courthouse, Karen Aguilar, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
We've been hearing the horror stories from tourists, even legitimate taxi drivers. What's the TLC doing to address this safety concern?
Continuing coverage tonight as Metro regulators go on the record with us after Fox 17 News reporting reveals unlicensed cab and rideshare drivers involving horror stories with people both local and tourists downtown. Fox 17 News' Caitlin Miller in Midtown after speaking with the head of Metro's Transportation Licensing Commission.
The TLC says that it has enforcement downtown every day looking for drivers not following the law. But a legitimate taxi driver we spoke with today say that the city is not doing enough. Raid Altabasi works for Yellow Cab, and he told us some important steps to make sure you're getting into a legitimate cab. He says to make sure the name of the company is on the vehicle along with a taxi number. Then he says to make sure to have the meter start before the ride does. After weeks of calls, TLC Director Richard Rooker spoke with me about this growing problem.
Would you say currently you have enough staffing to constantly regulate these drivers?
We are in the process now of hiring new enforcement officers. So we are in that process, and when we get fully staffed, we'll be much better, much more efficient and effective in enforcing.
TLC Director Richard Rooker says unlicensed drivers is a significant problem. The TLC says that a lot of these problems happen late at night and on weekends. Rooker speculates a lot of these legitimate taxi drivers are returning back downtown after their work hours and driving illegally. But again, none of these drivers have been caught. Reporting from Midtown, I'm Caitlin Miller, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
New tonight, the community remembers the owner of Smokin' Thighs. Matthew Carney was killed by a hit-and-run driver in the parking lot of his own South Nashville restaurant earlier this month. The business was closed today so employees could attend that vigil. Friends and family members praised Carney's workers who have kept his business going after his death. Tonight, they're asking everyone to remember Carney for the fun-loving man he was.
His memory was a fun time. He had 42 years. Almost everybody here that knew him probably had a really stupid story that was involved with him. And that's what I want you all to remember. Let's not focus on this horrible tragedy. Let's just remember all the really, really fun, dumb things he did. He lived 100 miles an hour. Let's remember him at 100 miles an hour.
Tonight, Metro Police are looking for 24-year-old Ulysses Martinez for questioning in Carney's death. They have a warrant right now charging him with stealing a truck the same day that Carney was killed. In the high cost of homelessness, Metro City leaders struggle to address homeless camps that are spilling onto some of the sidewalks downtown. Those sidewalks were cleared along the river just before the big 4th of July celebration. This video shows what it looked like down there. Grocery carts, bags, and household items strung all along Gay Street earlier this month. You see them going underneath the James Robertson Bridge. Now, while the sidewalks are clear now, the camps are just hidden beyond the tree line to the right. Metro Councilman Jacob Coupin, who represents the downtown area, says it's something he's working to address.
I don't like to move people from just one place to another. It's not good for those individuals, not good for the neighborhoods. But this area in particular has been a little bit challenging. And it's also what was addressed by my resolution asking for homeless services to start to work on this area.
Metro's Office of Homeless Services tells Fox 17 News tonight that they are at the riverfront camp every day trying to connect the homeless people who live there with resources and services. Tonight in Crisis in the Classroom, an Antioch woman turns to Fox 17 News after she says her younger sister was assaulted at school 4 times. The 13-year-old girl moved from Venezuela to Middle Tennessee in search of a better life. So far, though, relatives say it's been a bad experience. Again, the sister says there have been not one assaults at school, but 4 separate incidents. One of them sent her sister to the hospital. Relatives came to us after they say Metro leaders refused to take their concerns seriously.
My mom called me screaming. She told me that Alanis couldn't even move any part of her body. She felt her little girl was dying.
More details about these 4 incidents and the Metro School District's response. We'll have that for you tomorrow on Fox 17 News at 9. Katie?
Scott, the heat is on for the next couple of days here. We're going to be looking at highs touching the 100-degree mark as we go through the next couple of days. Looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, so I'll just continue to go through here. We are looking at upper 90s to around 100 as we head towards Sunday, and it looks like we may continue to see the potential for 100 degrees for Monday and Tuesday of next week, all the while looking at mainly sunny skies and little chance for rain. So we check out the weather headlines. Again, the high heat will return. We're going to be in code red for those days, at least beginning Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, with little chance for rain in the next several afternoons here. Live look on Broadway, looking a little more lively this evening. Our temperature is still quite warm at 84 with mainly clear skies, and the radar is quiet for us as well. Again, lucky if you see a shower, which I'd say your chance is less than 5% for the next several days here until probably next week. 69 to 70 for the overnight here in town. We'll talk more about the 100-degree heat, how long it could last. It's in your Fox 17 Code Red forecast. Scott.
Katie, thank you. Speaking of heat, at 9 o'clock tonight, we asked our viewers in our X poll what you consider too hot. You see, we've got 304 votes weighing in. The majority of people say for them between 95 and 100 is too hot. The next largest group, 90 to 95, that's 37.8%. But check that out. Nearly 11% of the people say it is never too hot for me. Our thanks tonight for all who took time to cast a vote, and keep an eye out for a new poll we'll have coming up for you tomorrow. Looking ahead to this year's Tennessee sales tax holiday to help families get ready for back to school. The sales tax holiday this year, July the 26th through the 28th. And you will have an opportunity to save 10% or very nearly 10% on qualifying back to school purchases. Among them, all the items you see up here. Clothing, shoes, things of that nature, less than $100. School supplies, less than $100. And this is per item. And also, this is big. Say your college student needs a computer, this is the time to buy, because you can save 10% on computers all the way up to $1,500. And if you consider that, that's $150. Significant savings. Again, the sales tax holiday. Making headlines tonight, President Biden addressing reporters in an hour-long news conference, responding to critics who say it's time for him to suspend his re-election campaign. Fox 17 News' Atra El-Nashar tonight with the highlights.
President Biden says he's optimistic, but the mood of the Democratic Party is anything but. Even those who are not openly calling for him to leave the race are voicing concerns about his shaky standing in the polls. Now, in this press conference, Biden took questions about calls for him to leave the race, but tried to focus his answers on policy instead of the controversy that surrounds him. In his opening remarks, the president touting the strength of NATO's alliance after a week-long summit in Washington, and went after his opponent, former President Trump's stance on foreign affairs, the economy, and immigration. Biden says this moment matters, true for foreign and domestic affairs, and his political future.
There's a long way to go in this campaign, and so I'm just going to keep moving.
Earlier in the day, the number of congressional Democrats calling for him to leave the race reached 14, with even more voicing doubts he can win in November, with time running out to turn things around or possibly replace him at the top of the ticket. The president came out an hour late after the press conference was already pushed back an hour. Before the press conference even began, during remarks at the NATO summit, the president made a gaffe that reporters in the room say drew gasps from the crowd.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky.
And later, instead of saying Vice President Harris's name,
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. She is qualified to be president. That's why I picked her.
Biden explaining why he's adamant that he'll remain the Democratic presidential nominee.
I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started.
There are reports some Democrats were waiting for the end of the NATO summit and after this press conference to go public with their calls for Biden to leave the race. So with those events in the books, we watch and see if that comes to fruition. On Capitol Hill, I'm Atrell Nashar.
I'm Keel Gaskins in Washington. The NATO summit coming to a close. Straight ahead, what progress was
Making international headlines tonight, President Biden pledging continued support for Ukraine's ongoing war with Russia. Fox 17 News' Kayla Gaskins with the very latest from the NATO summit.
Ukraine will prevail.
Following Thursday's meeting with President Zelensky, President Biden announcing a new security systems package for Ukraine.
We show the world that we stand with Ukraine now and in the future.
This comes as NATO leaders gather for a summit in Washington, where most of the discussions have centered around Ukraine, which is not a NATO member, and their fight against Russia.
We must do everything for Ukraine to prevail.
Making sure that we can stand up to Putin's aggression.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken announcing a coalition of NATO countries are finally sending Zelensky long sought after F-16 fighter jets.
As we speak, the transfer of F-16 jets is underway, coming from Denmark, coming from the Netherlands, and those jets will be flying in the skies of Ukraine this summer to make sure that Ukraine can continue to effectively defend itself against the Russian aggression.
As NATO allies largely unite behind Ukraine, support among U.S. lawmakers remains more complex. Zelensky visiting Capitol Hill Wednesday, sitting down with a bipartisan group of congressional leaders. Since Russia's invasion, the U.S. has authorized around $175 billion in assistance, according to the Council on Foreign Relations. Some GOP lawmakers, like Utah Senator Mike Lee, are highly skeptical of sending even more U.S. resources.
While Americans are pinching pennies, we're sending our tax dollars to fight in a faraway war. Our defense industrial base and dwindling stockpiles demonstrate that there are practical limits to what the U.S. can reasonably do for Ukraine.
Ukraine is still striving to join NATO. This week, the 32 member countries officially declared Ukraine is on an irreversible path to membership, but only after the war with Russia ends. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
Well, we are looking at some hot days ahead here. I thought we'd take a look at where we stand so far. As far as 90-degree days or better, we're at 27 already for 2024 and a lot of summer to go. Our average, for perspective, is 49 days. So we're going to be adding quite a few days here for the week ahead. Saturday, including tomorrow even, we'll be in the mid-90s. But we get into Saturday, we're right around 98 degrees with record around 105, 100 for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And records are not far from that. Hopefully these records will stand Do not want to see 104 for an afternoon high. Now it'll feel that hot though, with heat index values anywhere between 105 to 110. That's something we'll be looking at more by Sunday and into early next week. 87 at 10 o'clock. We're up to about 95 by 2. Mainly sunny skies will be the story for us throughout the day on Friday. Rain chances remain slim over the next several days. Friday 9 a.m. feeling like 90, and then as we head toward the later part of the morning and more so into the early afternoon, it'll start to feel like mid to upper 90s for the day. So that's going to be where we end up for the afternoon on Friday as far as how it will feel, with again mainly sunny skies around, and those mid 90s hang with us all the way through Friday evening into early Saturday morning. We'll drop back into the at least real field temperature into the upper 70s most likely. Rain chances again, not many opportunities here. I'd say by Wednesday, Thursday, we're starting to see a bit of a pattern shift. Temperatures will come down a little bit, and then our rain chances will start to go up, which would be good to see because we all could use the rain. Future track not really finding much as far as rain goes here. I'd say maybe a 5% chance of a shower possible. Consider yourself lucky if you find any rain, because there isn't going to be a good rain chance until about a week from now. And that'll be where we have those shower chances for Wednesday and Thursday. So I've added Sunday to our code red mix here for heat. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, code red for heat. Highs will be near 100 on Saturday. Heat index values will be just over 100. For Saturday, it'll be Sunday where I think we could surpass 105 into the 110 category. Scott?
Thank you, Katie. Just ahead, high risk or high reward. How the Titans' latest big-name free agent signing will impact the team.
Nearly 22 million children living in America rely on schools for their meals. Fox 17 News and our parent company, Sinclair Broadcasting.
Tennessee Titans not done adding to their roster just yet, and today signed three-time Pro Bowl safety Jamal Adams to a one-year deal. Adams spent the last 4 seasons with the Seattle Seahawks, where in 2020 he set the single-season record for most sacks by a defensive back with 9.5. However, since then he's been riddled with injuries in recent years and only played 9 games last season. Former Titans wide receiver Chris Sanders joining us now on the show to help us break down the latest Titans signing. And Chris, Jamal Adams, a big name for the Titans. He also addresses an area of need for the two-tone blue. How concerned are you that his most productive years were maybe 3 or 4 years ago?
I mean, I'm not really concerned. I mean, this guy's a veteran. He's been around. He played with the Seahawks and he played with the Jets. But here's the thing that I love. Everybody knows about Denard Wilson, you know, the defensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. He wants to be aggressive and he wants to get after the quarterback. So what do? You go out and get 2 corners. You got Snead, you got Awuzie, but now you bring Jamal Adams in there, who's a guy that's going to blitz the quarterback. If you look at his overall career, he has 21 sacks and he has 494 tackles. So when you have a guy like that, that's a veteran guy that can make tackles, get after the quarterback, I think this is a great signing for the Tennessee Titans.
Titans added much needed safety. They also added veteran, like you said, and just a little less than 2 weeks away from training camp. So it's all coming together for the two-tone blue first year of Brian Callahan. He's former Titans wide receiver Chris Sanders, and he's going to join us Sports Overtime Sunday at 10. We'll break down all the position battles going on in training camp in just 2 weeks, so be sure to join us then.
It is a new device combined with a new drug that could make a big difference for those living with one neurological problem. I'm Liz Bonus. How it's injecting hope just ahead.
Hey there, I'm Fox 17 News This Morning anchor Erica Glover. As natural disasters become more and more frequent, consumers are picking up the cost. We're going to explain how much the average American could end up paying over the course of their lifetime. We'll have the numbers and that full story on Fox 17 News This Morning, Friday morning.
In health news tonight, a new drug that could soon help to improve the lives of people who are battling Parkinson's disease. Fox 17 News medical reporter Liz Bonus shows us why people who are battling Parkinson's are so encouraged.
Hey there, everybody. This is what's called the infused vial transfer system. It's a first of its kind delivery system that, along with a new drug, has the potential to change lives and give hope to those living with Parkinson's disease.
I think I've been here longer than anybody, or as much as anybody. I've been here shortly after I was diagnosed, and we've gone from there.
For those such as Joe Schweitzer, who was diagnosed with Parkinson's more than a decade ago, it could give him back a time of day where he often cannot be as active as he is here at Ohio's Parkinson Community Fitness. While there are multiple medications to help treat the symptoms of Parkinson's, there are none that address what's often called the time off state.
Those are periods during the day when the drugs they're taking don't work.
So Matthew Huddleston, the chief commercial officer here at Ohio's Enable Injections, and Randall Meredith, the Serena Therapeutics chief development officer of Huntsville, Alabama's Hudson Alpha Institute of Biotechnology, recently partnered to try and change that.
We want to change the treatment experience for patients.
Serena has come up with a new formula of a drug approved for use overseas, but not yet here in the U.S. They refer to it as SCR-252.
SCR-252 is a conjugate of that drug that prolongs the life of that drug in the body. And that makes it completely unique as a drug.
What's more is that not only would this reduce the off-state time when patients describe the feeling as frozen, it would take the drug from a long IV infusion to one that is almost instantaneous. The Enable infused vial transfer system allows the drug to be loaded and infused almost instantly, as this demonstration video provided by Enable shows. Because SCR-252 is a large molecule or polymer drug,
We can attach drugs to this polymer and program the release of those drugs in the body following a single injection.
For those such as Lisa Coors, who work daily with this Parkinson's fitness program, until we have a cure for patients,
that's hopeful. That's very hopeful for me.
A way to inject hope, she says, for those